9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.
It's Wednesday, and you know that what that means. You're hanging out with the timeless elitist of all elitists. Your PR princess, Courtney, is with you tonight on this special edition of AEW Dynamite, where we continue the fallout from AEW Dynasty. As I mentioned, we have a pretty stacked card, and we are kicking it off with our AEW World Heavyweight Champion, Jon Moxley.
Hey, screwed Swerve Strickland.
Well, very interesting stuff from Jon Moxley, but we'll be talking about that throughout the night. I mean, we got a fallout match from Dynasty. We got some matches on the card. I mean, if you saw the preview, Jon Moxley will be taking on Katsuyori Shibata. And of course, he has Marina Shafir by his side. We know Willow had to deal with a lot of neck issues from last week, Willow Nightingale. But I do believe Marina and Willow are going to have a match. I thought it was going to be at Dynasty, but I believe they are bound to have a match. If it doesn't happen at Double or Nothing, it has to happen at All In. Just get the people what they want. Because I would love to see that. Because I could see a lot of ladies in the back that could challenge Marina Shafir. But outside of Moxley and Shibata, we also have Pac taking on Swerve Strickland for the very first time. As you can tell, Swerve is very outraged after what happened this past weekend, where the Young Bucks screwed Swerve. And we'll talk a lot about that, because there's a lot of things I need to say. And it's nothing against the Young Bucks personally. It's nothing against them wrestling-wise. It's just the other stuff that they have been known for since they've been EVPs for AEW. But we'll talk about that later on in the show. So outside of that, for the first time, we're continuing the Owen Hart Women's Cup Tournament. We have Chris Statlander taking on Thunder Rosa for the first time. And my client, the timeless one, Tony Storm, will be doing commentary. We also have Wheeler Yuta and Claudio Castagnoli taking on the Ops, which consists of Samoa Joe and Hook. We also have a $400,000 explosive 8-man tag team match where we have Speedball Mike Bailey, Mark Briscoe, Will Ospreay, and Kevin Knight taking on Ricochet, Leo Rush, Action Andretti, and the Beast Muertos. We also are going to have the Hurt Syndicate have their celebration after beating Big Bill and the Bad Apple Brian Keith this past weekend at Dynasty. And we're also going to have some TV time with Chris Jericho and the Learning Tree. So lots more to come. And here we go. We kick off our first match between Jon Moxley against Katsuyori Shibata. And Shibata is no joke. Do not underestimate him. Never heard of an 8-man tag team match being called. I know, both exactly. Like something, I feel like something is bound to happen in that match because there's so much chaos that can happen in this match. But as I mentioned, Jon Moxley is still your champion in the most controversial fashion from Dynasty. But Swerve, he did get screwed. As I mentioned, he got screwed by the Young Bucks, and I'm just going to say this, the Young Bucks, you got a huge death wish on you because you just pissed off the most dangerous man in AEW, especially with the fact, because we can go back to last year, and also, it's nothing personal. I'm thinking about the storyline-wise, because if you think about it, the Young Bucks never liked Swerve when he was champion last year. Because if you really think about it, when Swerve was AEW champion, he was starting to get a lot of opportunities within the mainstream. He was doing his music. He was really starting to bring AEW on the mainstream scale a bit, along with a few other well-known popular stars. And it just really sickened the Young Bucks a bit because it was just like, wow. Maybe there was a bit of envious because it's like, I don't know why the Young Bucks, you're the EVPs. You're one of the more well-known tag team champions. You could have been doing a lot of mainstream work. Like, don't blame it all on Swerve. Like, he was doing a lot of work when he was champion. Like him, Tony Storm, Orange Cassidy. Even when Caster and Bowens were together with the Acclaim, they were starting to get into mainstream. So it was really bizarre. But we'll talk about that. Glad you had fun Sunday, Courtney and Dynasty. The ending was weird. I was going to say, yep, that's what happened too. And also, if you notice, they never even attacked anybody from the Elite because it was right before Bryan Danielson's match against Jack Perry. Moxley walked up to the Young Bucks and Jack Perry, and Moxley said this to Perry, saying, "I don't care what anybody says. I like you." And that's it. And also, the rest of the Elite did not do anything when the Death Riders were wreaking havoc on half of the AEW roster. So that's really something to think about too. So I'm happy to see it's starting to play out a little bit because we tried to see people make a cohesive army against the Death Riders, but sometimes it doesn't end that well. And here comes, see, don't mess with Shibata. You can put him as many kicks to the head, but he can always come back. That's what I love about him. But as I'm going back to my point, I think this is going to be one of the first few times we actually have somewhat of a cohesive unit to take down the Death Riders, because this is what Darby Allin was trying to say a couple months ago, trying to defend the power of AEW, really trying to make a stand. But you also need some people who are on the same wavelength to kind of align with that. So I think it's now starting to come into place. Unfortunately, even though I got to see 3 of my clients on Dynasty, Tony Storm, Anthony Bowens, and Max Caster, unfortunately, I have 1 that was missing. And I found out over the weekend that Orange Cassidy, unfortunately, suffered an injury and he tore his pectoral muscle. So this really sucks, considering I would have loved to see him play a part in the Death Riders, because out of all the stars in AEW, he has the most experience against all of them, with the exception of Marina Shafir. But he has so much experience in that, and it really sucks that Freshly Squeezed is hurt. I don't know how serious the injury is, but we do wish him a speedy recovery, along with Jay White, who broke his hand last week because of the Death Rider. So wishing both of them a speedy recovery, and just have to figure out who's going to be cohesive, because it's starting to come together. It's just have to figure out who's good is it, because you have Swerve. Surprisingly, Hangman started to help, but that's going to be interesting with him and the Young Bucks. And you have Swerve, you have Willow, possibly the Ops, all 3. And I would have said OC, but he's injured at the moment. But we'll find out and see. And also Darby Allin, he's climbing Mount Everest right now. So that's another thing to look at. But Shibata's holding up on his own, and that's good. because I will not underestimate Shibata one bit. And I'm surprised he hasn't had any singles gold since he came to AEW. Oh my god, and then John Moxley put the submission hold, but that's it. Winner of the match is your AEW World Champion, John Moxley. He won, folks. He won. So I'm just laughing at all the fans that are giving him the middle finger. It just loves seeing the fans entertaining. But John Moxley and Marina Shafir are still in the ring. I have a feeling he. Whoa! And speaking of that, here come the Young Bucks. Unfortunately, they're your EVP. You can see the look on my face. I'm being sarcastic in a way. You can see by the look on my face. I'm just like, I don't care. I'm the kind of person, but it's just I don't care. But I'm gonna listen to what they have to say. I'm gonna listen what they have to say, and everything else. But yeah. And they're entering the ring. Agreed, Taz. Hopefully we get some answers. What's John doing? Moxley and Marina left. Moxley doesn't look really impressed. He really doesn't. You also know Cody was an EVP, right? And also Kenny Omega. Don't forget about Kenny. Oh my god. There was actually people that wanted Sword to be champion. I don't think Hangman does after what they did to him the last time during Blood and Guts.
it's hard to believe I was saying this a couple months ago about this. I was saying this a couple months ago. Oh, Kenny. What's Kenny doing? Oh, yeah. Kenny is an EVP as well. So let's see what Kenny Omega has to say because he's the reigning international champion. And also remember, you saw what the Elite did to Kenny Omega last year. Mm-hmm. Interesting metaphor, Kenny. Interesting. The fans are chanting Dookie.
And quite frankly, now that we've gotten to this point, I could go on and I could go on and I could go on. But I don't know. I'm just thinking, let's just cut out the middleman and I'll just come to the ring and we'll fight.
Kenny's gonna fight. Kenny. Oh God, Kenny. So Kenny's just gonna fight. Oh, Okada.
Kenny Omega's already outnumbered because you forgot about the Rainmaker. And it's pretty much 3-on-1 at this point. Oh boy. And it's getting closer and closer for Okada and Kenny to and here comes the man that got screwed by the Young Bucks. And also, will we see? I know Will Ospreay has a match, but where is Swerve? And I will say I do like his new Titantron from this past weekend. Oh, he got the chair! Oh, he got the chair! See? The Young Bucks got a death wish. You screwed a man out of a title. And that was because you didn't like Swerve being champion. Let's just put it in the fact. There was envy and jealousy when Swerve was champion. And I see the stare down between Kenny and Swerve. And there is a lot of respect between Kenny and Swerve. So but also, Swerve is in action. And let's see what Swerve has to say. Buckshot season. Oh, there's Pac. Interesting segue because, you know, Pac and Swerve have a match. So it's an interesting segue. Yeah, so interesting segue how this goes. But up next is Swerve versus Pac. And interesting way to start off Dynamite tonight, don't you think? Because we're almost at 8:30. Hi, Tiana Johnson. Thank you for joining on this watch along. Dynasty was great. I really enjoyed it. This was my second pay-per-view I got to enjoy live on AEW. And also the first time I got to attend their media scrum, which was so fun to do, especially getting into PR mode and everything else. I really enjoyed it. There were a few things I learned. Tony Khan is a very short person in real life. I knew he was short. I just did not know he was that short. But nothing bad against it. I just thought it was a compliment. But really sitting in there and getting my client, Tony Storm, to answer my question. It was really, really awesome to have Tony do it. Tony's the reason I got into AEW, and I would have not gone it without her. Also, as I mentioned, I got to see another client of mine, Anthony Bowens, at the press conference as well. And it was really fun. Yeah, Boza, the pay-per-view ended very late. So it ended like a little after midnight, and I didn't get home probably till like 3 o'clock in the morning. So it ended at like a little after 12, and then it was like at 1, and it was very quick and very, very late, but very happy to do that as well. I mean, if the pay-per-view would have ended a little earlier, then we could have went a little longer, but it was really nice to get that. And like I mentioned, my other client, Anthony Bowens, was there. I got to see, we also had the new TNT champion, Adam Cole, was also there too. And then we got to end it with Renee and Tony. It was very interesting because nothing against the media or anything else, but there were some questions that I was scratching my head on and be like, what? Because I know people will always go for the controversial questions and clicks, but for me, I'm a PR girl. I have to hold my integrity and my code of conduct, and I really want to ask questions that probably people will never heard of. That was one of the questions I wanted to ask Tony, because she brought up the Owen Hart Women's Cup tournament, and we saw Mercedes Moné take on Julia Hart in an incredible match between both ladies, and just very curious on if there's a specific woman that she's looking at or she's open to it. But she says she's open to all challengers. That's why she's the champ. But that was really a fun question to ask. So very, very exciting. Also, as I mentioned, seeing Anthony Bowens there. And it's funny because I made a bold prediction that he was going to be at it's always interesting because I made a bold prediction this past weekend that Anthony was going to be there, and here he was. But it's I know it was on 0 hour, but this is far from over between those two, because I actually did watch their interviews after the match, and even though Anthony seems he's moving on, Max, on the other hand, doesn't seem very happy about that. So they are gonna go to war again. They're definitely gonna go to war again, because I feel like the more successful Anthony is gonna be, it's really gonna piss off Max, and he has to drop his open challenge sooner or later. They're going to have a real physical match. If it doesn't have a double or nothing, I could see it happening at All In, because that match needs to be on the card. And the rivalry between those two, I don't care what anybody says, it's far from over. Way far from over. So we'll be tuning into that. And funny you mentioned that, because I will be seeing Max Caster tomorrow in Philadelphia with the rapper Murs. I'm very excited because it's the first time I've ever seen him perform freestyle. So very, very excited. But we are back live on AEW Dynamite from Baltimore, Maryland, where for the first time ever, an angry and pissed off Swerve Strickland is taking on 1/3 of the Trios champion Pac. And I can't blame Swerve for being angry, because I would be angry too if I got screwed out of a big title picture. Glad you brought up the women's. Oh, and a lot of the time the media wants to ask Tony. I know. I feel like that's been an ongoing thing. That or like a Waffle House question. But I did want to bring up the Owen Hart because, there was a match between Mercedes and Julia Hart. And plus, we're women's wrestling talk. We cover all the ladies. So that's also good to know. But looking at the back, Prince Nana is in the corner. I was saying this past weekend on Dynasty, because Marina Shafir was looking on the Nana. I said to myself, you do not want to mess with that man, because I seen him last year at Double or Nothing with a pipe in his hand, chasing Nick Wayne from ringside when Swerve Strickland was taking on Christian Cage. You do not want to mess with him, because anytime he has a weapon in his hand, that's like, you better run. But anyways, going back to the match between Pac and Swerve Strickland. And I will say, and it looks like Swerve is about to counter. Oh, powerbomb on the turnbuckle. And I don't know if anybody caught this, but this past weekend at Dynasty, his gear actually reminded me. I don't know if anybody watched the show Static Shock from the Kids WB show. But for some odd reason, his gear over the weekend was paying homage to Static Shock. And I was just like, oh my God, that is a throwback. I just wanted to put that little fun fact in. Nick Wayne needed his mother. I know. And it's so funny because during that trios match, it was good trios match. But of course, Layla Gray had to deal with Kip Sabian. So I really would have loved Layla Gray to handle Mother Wayne, but that just made me sad, because I really thought Top Flight and AR Fox were going to win, because AR Fox was incredible this past weekend. The fans were going for him, but Layla had to deal with, I'm looking at Dr. Sampson, because he's looking at Pac, because it looks like, I don't know if he injured his ankle or his knee, but Dr. Sampson's out. But they're checking to see if it's serious. I don't like to see like wrestlers be very, very serious. And I'm hoping it's not that serious of an injury, because that's the worst thing to do. And that's why I always have so much respect for professional wrestlers having their bodies in, week out, and just really going. But it looks like Pac is ready to go. Nice kick in the face by Swerve. Swerve wants to end this. It's a stomp. That has to be it. And your winner is Swerve Strickland. And that man is on a vengeance. They are on a vengeance. And the EVPs can run, but they can't hide from the most dangerous man in AEW, because they're going to get their coming. I don't care if they're EVPs or not. You think they would show respect to people, but they're nothing more than pompous-ass little pricks. Yes, I said it. I said what I said. Nothing against them wrestling-wise. It's just the other things that I can't stand of that. Because, yes, they are humans, but it's just some of their qualities that they do. Because that's why not a lot of people like them or respect them. But Swerve, he's in the ring. But don't worry, he's going to get his AEW championship back sooner than you think. Sooner than you think he's going to get his title back. he wants his title back, which I don't blame him, because I thought he had a good reign. Yeah, yeah, Boza, exactly. Yes, exactly, Boza. I know, me neither. I just hope he's not hurt. Yeah, Swerve looks at the camera. He's saying that belt is mine. It's mine, which it should be. Oh, thank you for that, Boza. So the main event's going to be, which I kind of figured that was going to be the main event. I mean, it had to be, because nothing against the ladies. I'm always happy to see ladies main event, but it has to make sense. But I'm very happy that's going to be the main event, because I could tell you there's going to be a lot of chaos in the match. And as I mentioned, my client's doing commentary for the Owen Hart Foundation Women's Cup Tournament. For the first time ever, Chris Statlander taking on Thunder Rosa. We're also going to see the AEW World Tag Team Champions, the Hurt Syndicate, celebrate their big win at Dynasty this past weekend. You also saw MJF was helping them. But up next is this $400,000 explosive 8-man tag team match. I can tell you this is going to be explosive, because you look at it, all the participants who are in this match, it is insanity. So we shall see. Oh, and Team Ricochet. Captain? Who called himself Captain? Word of the day is entrepreneurial from Mark Briscoe. Mark is a smart man. Don't underestimate Mark Briscoe. How can you not like Mark Briscoe? I know, Buzz, it feels random, but then when you look at, I know it does feel random when you look at the card, but when you watch the match, it actually kind of makes sense in a way, because the match will make sense, because of course you have Speedball Mike Bailey, Ricochet, they were in that triple threat for the International Championship. You have Will Ospreay and Kevin Knight teaming up together after they had that incredible match this past weekend from Dynasty. Of course, you have Action Andretti and Leo Rush coming off with a big trios win at 0 Hour. And then you have the Beast Mortos. I can imagine a lot of chaos happening in this match. But Will Ospreay, if you guys aren't keeping score, Will Ospreay advance into the Owen Hart Cup tournament along with Kyle Fletcher. So on the men's side. So we are going to get an update soon because so far we're still waiting on Konosuke Takeshita taking on Brody King. Hangman Adam Page is going to be taking on a wild card. So we don't know who that wild card is, but feel free to put in the chat on who do you think is going to be the wild card to challenge Hangman Adam Page, and it could be anybody. I just hope they don't waste it on like a usual pick. Your client was funny on Sunday. She thought she was a boxer. Yes, that was really funny. I did love that she paid tribute to Rocky. She did play homage to Rocky because, of course, it's based in Philadelphia. But it was really great to see her doing that homage because, you know, she was up against a big battle in Megan Bayne. Like, she's a very talented woman, very talented athlete, but, you know, she had to find her inner Rocky moment, and she was kind of going against the odds because there was a lot of chirp last week because people didn't think she was going to retain the title. But she proved that she's a fighting champion and she can beat anybody. And not because she's my client, but she's a fighting champion. She's went against all odds. I mean, come on. She came back after losing the title at Wembley last year, and she came back so strongly. Hi, Eric Tate. Thank you for joining on this watch along for AEW Dynamite. This is your PR princess and your timeless elite, Courtney, joining with you tonight. We are continuing the fallout from AEW Dynasty. We're getting ready for our $400,000 8-man tag team match. My God, there's so much that could happen in that. There's a lot that can happen in that tag team match. I could smell a lot of chaos and everything else. My guest, Josh Alexander. Josh Alexander is a good choice because it's a possibility he may be doing AEW. I can see them wasting on Jack Perry. Well, Boza, it depends because, like, I just don't want them to waste it a bit, but we shall see. Hi, Bobby Patino. Thank you for joining on this watch along for Dynamite. Yep, he did say buck hunting season. Yeah, who's ready for buck hunting season? But as I mentioned, Dynasty this past weekend, they showed the Owen Hart Cup tournament men's and women's matches from this past weekend. I will say this: Mercedes Moné and Julia Hart put on a really good match. I will say, I mean, people really thought that oh God, people really thought Julia Hart was going to win because I was like, wait, what? It was a real Mini Monet. I just love that puppet. I just love that little puppet, Mini Monet. Deep down, Mercedes loves that puppet. I don't care what anybody says. She loves that puppet. But also, our next match for the women's, Jamie Hager taking on Billy Starks. Harley Cameron taking on the Ring of Honor Women's Champion, Athena. Oh, nice, Bobby. You were writing Bryce Donovan. I watched him in the independent scene, and he's really good. I'm so happy you watched Bryce. And he came from Creative Pro in New York, where a lot of people from AEW came. Chris Statlander, MJF, Max Caster, along with many other people that trained there. So happy you did. Hi, Fernando. Thank you for joining. And also this Saturday on Collision this weekend, it will be Jamie Hager taking on Billy Starks and Harley Cameron taking on the Ring of Honor Women's Champion Athena. So we have 2 women's matches this weekend. And next week in Boston, surprise, surprise, the TBS champion and Boston's own Mercedes Moné will take on the winner of Harley Cameron and Athena in spring break for their spring break episode. So seeing the card out for the Owen Hart Cup tournament for the men's side. Oh, and Renee, and oh, here comes Hangman Adam Page, and I don't think he's very happy. Where's he going? He's going to Dwarf's locker room? Hey. Well, well, really interesting from Hangman Adam Page, but we're gonna have more on that. But he did say he was not there to help Sora Strickland, which is no coincidence because they don't like each other. Aw, thank you, Bobby. Thank you for doing that. I do appreciate that. Yeah, it was a lot. If I remember this, we finished. Yep, Saturday we finished the rest of the quarterfinals this weekend. And then next week at spring break, Mercedes Moné will be taking on the winner of Harley Cameron versus Ring of Honor Women's Champion Athena. So we shall see. Fernando, it's a possibility. Yeah, I could, because keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. Fernando, I just want to correct you. Are you talking about Chris Statlander versus Thunder Rosa? Because that's who they're facing off against each other tonight. I know, Bobby. I was just talking about that. Anthony Bowens. I was just talking about that too. And I made a bold prediction that he was going to be there this past weekend. But as I mentioned, it's far from over between. Yes, both of them did. Yes, Bobby, both of them did. Caster and Anthony. But I feel like it's far from over between those two, because I did watch the post interview after their matches, and it looks like there's a lot of dirty laundry that's posting out there, and neither one of them are wrong. But I feel like this needs to be a serious match between them. It may happen at Double or Nothing. It may happen at All In, but they need to have a very serious match. And also, don't be surprised if there's a lot of dirty laundry coming out. And the promos, they can handle on their own, because I want to see what they do solo-wise, because they've already developed the characters as they should, but we shall see what they do. And also, don't hold on, because let them do their solo runs, because I know next year by Wembley Stadium, the Acclaimed will be back together. My clients will be back together, but for right now, let them have their solo runs. Let them do their thing, because they're going to meet again in a match. So, Boza, to answer your question, yes, I will be doing a AEW watch along next week, because even though it is WrestleMania week, I still gotta show some love to AEW in a way, because even though it is WrestleMania, gotta show love to everything, all wrestling. But next week, next Wednesday on Dynamite, I will be doing a watch along, and also I believe they're also going to be doing a live collision on Thursday because they don't want to clash with WrestleMania weekend, which is very smart. But I think next Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to get back-to-back action of AEW, which is great because at least you don't have to wait till Saturday. It's a possibility. It's a possibility, Bobby. Well, depending, because yeah, Tony Storm needs an opponent, but I don't know. We shall see. Just wanted to check because I didn't know. No, I'm not going to Vegas, Boza. I ain't going to Vegas, so you do it. Fernando, pump the brakes. Pump the brakes. Pump the brakes a bit because, yes, Bowen is going to make history, but that doesn't mean they're not going to be the Acclaimed together because you tend to forget that the Acclaimed are still the winningest tag team in AEW, especially with the fact they were not two-time champs. I don't think it is that he needs the Acclaim. And also, kind of think about it too, him and Caster were able to pick up characters before they banded together. And also, Tony Khan was the reason that they got together. This was one of Tony Khan's babies that created. So they already had developmental characters before they were formed. Like Max Caster, he was Platinum Max. Anthony Bowens, he was a 5-tool player. He was a Scissor King. And it's nice that they have that versatility because they are more than just that tag team. So pump the brakes because they're going to be back together next year because they need to be two-time champs and they are still the winningest team in AEW. Count on it. So I said what I said. But anyways, here comes Will Ospreay, Speedball Mike Bailey, Kevin Knight, and Mark Briscoe. They are coming out with this huge $400,000 8-man tag team match. Now, Boza, I do appreciate you asking first. But yes, I will be doing a watch along next week on Dynamite. I will not be going to Vegas, unfortunately. But I will be going to SummerSlam. The goal is going to SummerSlam. I was there live this past weekend at Dynasty, and listening to Will Ospreay's theme song was just breathtaking and mind-blowing because it was just like when his music came on and everybody from the crowd just got up, and when they did the Ospreay, it was just so infectious. I was just like, oh my god, crazy. But yeah, we're gonna have a exciting 8-man tag team match. Yes, Bobby, you should be very proud of your client, Harley Cameron, because she is making some waves. She has Minnie Monet, the puppet, and she has a big match this weekend where she's facing off against the Ring of Honor Women's Champion Athena this Saturday on Collision. So, but she hasn't gotten better wrestling-wise. But I know people say they want Harley to take the TBS title from Mercedes Moné. I don't care what anybody says. I would love Julia Hart to get into the shot for that TBS title. I mean, I'm sorry. After this past weekend, she really showed it. And also, she's a former TBS champion, by the way. So, just want to be clear of that. No, Eric Tate, I do not own any replica belts, unfortunately. I don't own any replica belts at the moment. I thought about it, but then it's just maybe somewhere down the line. But I don't have any, as of right now, I don't have any replica belts. But here we go with this 8-man tag team match. We have the Beast, Mortos against Speedball Mike Bailey. Nice hurricanrana. I'm going to say that triple threat international championship match was on fire. It was. And here comes Ricochet. You got to go in there. Ricochet. Well, tag in the Will Ospreay. Well, here comes Lio Rush taking on Will Ospreay, and Ricochet's just clapping from outside the ring. And I know somebody asked about the venue. The venue, I actually really like this venue in Baltimore, Maryland. It's very small and you can hear the crowd reaction. So I'm happy whoever it was in that office in AEW finally made the switch to go to smaller venues because it has been really fun. And even when I was in Philly too this past weekend, the crowd atmosphere was so loud and vibrant. And a stare down between both teams. Ricochet's supposed to be a leader, but he's not coming up front. He's not being a leader. And we knew there was going to be chaos coming in. I love this. Team Will Ospreay. Oh, they're just giving Ricochet a poor beating. Poor guy. Poor Ricochet. So far, Team Will Ospreay has had Team Ospreay has had the upper hand here. Ooh, nice move by Ospreay. Nice move by Briscoe. Oh my goodness, Kevin Knight! Steve Ball. Oh my goodness! There's just so much chaos and mayhem in this 8-man tag team match. Teamwork makes the dream work. Poor Ricochet. He laid it on his feet. That was impressive. Oh my! He slaps his shiny bald head. Poor Ricochet. There's just a look on his face should be like a meme. It has to be a meme. Well, the match is still going in picture in picture. Even though the match is in picture in picture, it's still continuing on, which is crazy. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, continue on the match. It looks like Action Andretti and Lio Rush are really taking on. They're really putting a beating on Kevin Knight. Oh my god. That is really funny. Oh, this 8-man tag team is insane. Would you ever want to be in commentary on AEW? Bobby, that's always a good question. I actually wouldn't mind doing commentary for AEW. And really, I just love being on that side because I always like to ask questions that not many people would ask them. And plus, I always feel every wrestler has a story to share. It is so cool. It's so incredible to see it. And even at the end of the day, they're humans. And for me, I've always wanted to showcase a wrestler's story on how they got there, but also the lessons that they had to take while in the journey, as we all love in professional wrestling. So maybe somewhere down the line, I wouldn't mind doing commentary for AEW. Tony Khan, boss man, hit me up. But I definitely learning that, especially in the independent scene as well. I did guest commentary for Bell to Bell. I am in the process of working with ISPW on some of their stuff, doing like backstage work, commentary work. So very excited to do that as well. But that's a good question to ask me, Bobby. And I did brush up on some of my skills this past weekend. If you saw on socials, I got to ask a question to my client, the timeless one, Tony Storm, at the Media Scrum this past weekend on Dynasty. So awesome too. And we are back live where we have I'm just gonna say this: Team Ricochet, which consists of Ricochet, Action Andretti, Leo Rush, and the Beast Mordos, taking on Team Osprey, consisting of Mike Bailey, Mark Briscoe, and Kevin Knight. And I will say this has been a fun tag team match to watch. I don't care what anybody says. This has been really, really fun to watch. Oh, nice move by the Beast. And also, he's getting some chance too. People are saying, Beast, Beast, Beast. So he's getting a nice little fan base. Well, look, Beast Morto made the tag to Ricochet. Who is Speedball Mike Bailey going to make the tag to? Ooh, and he took out Will Ospreay and Mark Briscoe. Ooh, a nasty kick. Oof. Uh-oh. Beast got caught. I mean, Kevin Knight got caught. Oh, nice DDD counter by Kevin Knight. And it's so ironic. This is probably like his third, fourth match since he's been signed to AEW, which is very impressive. Ooh. Nice move by Action Andretti. But here comes Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay is so fun to watch. Oh, Ricochet pushed Will Ospreay out the ring. Ooh. Ooh. Speedball Mike Bailey landing on his knee. These men will do. Yeah, I know. Anything for money. Anything that has to do with money, these guys will go straight the lengths on. $400K, $400,000. That is crazy. Could you imagine doing with that kind of money? The beats caught. Ooh, Mark Briscoe is. Ooh. Kung Fu chicken. That's to bring that Kung Fu. Here comes Will Ospreay. And look at that, Kevin Knight. Ooh, that's a nice move. That is very impressive. That's it. Oh, I thought the match was over, but that was a close one. Ooh, threw action Andretti over the top rope. Will Ospreay. The Blade Runner. That has to be it. That was a fun match. And your winners, and just got $400,000 richer. Will Ospreay, Mark Briscoe, Speedball Mike Bailey, and Kevin Knight. They are $400,000 richer. Oh God, I can imagine, and also they're in Baltimore too, so I could see them probably going to National Harbor. I mean, you're not far from Baltimore. You can get some crab cakes, you can get some seafood. You're not that far. You're in the city of Baltimore. But congratulations to all four of the men, and they just got paid. Money paid. But I'm very excited to see Speedball Mike Bailey and where he's going to go, especially with Kevin Knight. As you mentioned on WWT Live, he signed with New Japan Pro Wrestling as well. So hopefully with this partnership, oh, yes. Yeah. So this past weekend on Dynasty, there was a lot that happened. But during the trios match for the AEW Trios Championship match between the Death Riders and Rated FTR, and it's so ironic. I was saying this a couple months ago that it's a possibility FTR may turn heel. Well, here we are, and FTR turned heel against Adam Copeland, and we still don't know how long he's going to be out for. There's been a lot of chirpingness around here that it's a possibility we may see Edge and Christian together. But yeah, it was very, very hard, and they pushed the ER truck and everything else. My God. So we don't know how long Adam Copeland's going to be out for, but so it's very interesting because we go from FTR to the Hurt Syndicate, who are the reigning AEW Tag Team Champions. They beat Big Bill and Brian Keith. We haven't seen Private Party since they lost the titles. They beat Austin and Colton Gunn for the titles. We haven't seen them then. FTR turned heel. They also beat the Outrunners for the tag team titles. So, yeah, who do you think will step up to the plate against the Hurt Syndicate? Because, like I said, we haven't seen Private Party. My clients, the Acclaimed, are split for now. I said keyword for now. But I'm just trying to think of. And you know, it's funny. Somebody mentioned Swerve and Hangman teaming up together to take out the Hurt Syndicate. That would be insane. But just really thinking of a tag team. But oh yes, Boza, Lance Archer, Brian Cage, the Don Callis family, In the Cage of Agony, that's another tag team. I would like to see the Infantry get a shot at those because they're a good tag team. I don't see why not. But we're gonna hear from the Hurt Syndicate because they are celebrating their reign as AEW Tag Team Champions, and they are celebrating. And MVP has the microphone in his hand. I will say the chant we heard people was crazy in Philadelphia. Oh, and here comes MJF. Oh, we can't forget about MJF because after what he did this past weekend, can we? Hi, Eddie Foster. Thank you for joining on this watch along tonight for AEW Dynamite. If you are joining us, we're seeing the Hurt Syndicate have their tag team celebration being interrupted by none other than MJF. Hurt MJF. See, I can tolerate MJF because, yes, he does act like a jerk, but he's a great athlete and he's a former AEW World Champion. He's a former International Champion. I can tolerate MJF. MJF. Oh my goodness. Does MJF really think he's a member of the Hurt Syndicate? Why do you have to call Tony Khan a narc? No surprise. Oh boy. Oh wow. Oh boy. Well.
Oh boy. Whoa. Well, MVP, he put a thumbs up, but we'll see what Shelton and Bobby has to say. I thought Shelton would put thumbs down. Well, Shelton did put a thumbs down. We already know where Bobby stands. Woo. Well, it looks like Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley kind of rejected MJF and saying he didn't get the job done. Interesting enough. But we get to see Renee. Oh, Renee backstage with Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. I will say, I do like Penelope Ford being Megan Bayne's mouthpiece. Well, Megan Bayne is going to make her mark. And surprisingly enough, up next is Chris Statlander and Thunder Rosa. And they just put in the promo for Spring Breakthrough next week for Dynamite and Collision. Well, I wouldn't say expanding, because to be fair, he probably doesn't like MJF, and he knows. And it's so ironic because isn't it the Hurt Syndicate supposed to be a heel? Because I thought at least MJF would have some of the heel qualities, but he did. So, but yeah, it's one of those things. Smart move to do Collision on Thursday. Yeah, I know, exactly. That's why I'm happy. And I think whoever was in that office was very smart to do that, considering it is WrestleMania week and everything they have to do. So I'm happy they are having it back to back next week, Wednesday and Thursday. But Megan Bayne's making a statement. Yes, Fernando, Megan Bayne is the future. And I was talking to one of the people I did, the media people, and he was kind of saying Megan Bayne was rushed too quick. I think it might have been too rushed because I think a lot of people did not know who she was, and really starting to build on that, especially with the fact, like, yeah, you did pin a former AEW Women's Champion.
You did put in a former TBS champion, but I do see her possibly in the future being a women's champion. Just not right now, but in the future. And Penelope Ford. Actually, to be honest, Boza, I could see Penelope Ford being a TBS champion. If we're just going to be that realistic, I could see her probably going for that. Oh my goodness. But thank you for joining me. This is your WWT PR Princess and everything you need to know about all things elite. With you tonight, we're continuing the fallout from AEW Dynasty at Philadelphia this past weekend, and they are in Baltimore, Maryland tonight. So lots happening there. But yeah, we're getting ready for Chris Statlander, Thunder Rosa for the first time ever with my client, the timeless one, Tony Storm, and we have our main event, Claudio and Wheeler Yuta against Samoa Joe and Hook in the main event. And who knows what that main event could tell it, because that could just be pure chaos. But as I mentioned, they are showing the Owen Hart Foundation Women's Tournament, where the tournament final will be held along with the men's at Double or Nothing. So the finals will be held then. And as I mentioned earlier, this Saturday on Collision, the women's continues with Jamie Hager taking on Billy Starks and Harley Cameron taking on the Ring of Honor Women's Champion Athena. And speaking of that, here is my client, the reigning and defending AEW Women's Champion, who had a wonderful match taking on Rocky Balboa. Channeling Rocky Balboa in her match against Megan Bayne. She is a fighting champion. So she will be doing commentary. She said she's ready for all comers. So she will be doing commentary. I know. Hey, don't underestimate my client. She's just doing what she does best. But she will be eyeing this match very, very closely. Oh my goodness. Well, here we go. Women's wrestling is alive and well. I love that sign. I love it. Well, here comes the ladies. Here comes Chris Statlander. I just can't believe this is the first time that these two faced off against each other since the 6 years it's been on AEW Dynamite. That's crazy. This is going to be a fun match between these two ladies. But here we go. We have the Owen Hart Foundation Women's Tournament match. And obviously enough, for the first time ever, Thunder Rosa taking on Chris Statlander. And feel free to put it in the chat on who do you guys have. And look at her muscles. She is one of the strongest women in AEW. Don't be eyeing the champ. I'm just saying, Chris Adler, don't be eyeing the champ, but the champ is watching. That's why my client is a champ. She's eyeing. She's eyeing. She's as she said in my answer. She's ready for all competition. But the match, even though the match is on picture in picture, the match is still going on live. I do like those red pumps that Tony has on. I really, really do. Nice move, my Chris Statlander. Oh no, Eric. I'm really sorry to what happened with your ear, but definitely sending over well wishes regarding to that, and you have a speedy recovery. Very speedy recovery. Nice hold by Chris Statlander. And we are back live in Baltimore, Maryland, where Thunder Rosa is taking on Chris Statlander in the Owen Hart Women's Cup Tournament with my client, the timeless one, the reigning AEW Women's Champion, on commentary looking at all the action. Oh, nice counter by Chris Statlander. Ooh. Kick out by Chris Statlander. I really thought that was over because Chris Statlander landed very hard. Ooh. Oh my goodness. Your winner is Chris Statlander, and she advances. Whoa. And she will be taking on the winner of Jamie Hager and Billy Starks. Chris Statlander came up with the victory. So congratulations to her for advancing. I don't know why, but I always loved Thunder Rosa being a heel. I just realized it. We didn't have many female wrestlers that are heel. Like, yeah, we got Megan Bayne, and we have Mercedes as a heel. I don't mind seeing Thunder Rosa go heel. But yeah, it shows the updated bracket this time. Chris Statlander will face off against either Jamie Hager or Billy Starks. Mercedes Moné won at Dynasty this past weekend, and she'll face off against the winner of Harley Cameron and Athena next week in her hometown of Boston. And then, of course, they're showing again the men's tournament, which it's always a fun tournament around this time of the year. And I know they had to do it a little bit early because they're doing all in Texas in July, because normally it would be a little bit further down, but yeah. Oh yeah, that creep, Doc Callis. The way he said hot. So it looks like, because as I mentioned this past weekend, not only my client Orange Cassidy is injured, Mark Davis is injured. So he's accepted applications for people to join the Don Callis family. And also this Saturday on Collision, Brody King will be taking on Konosuke Takeshita in the qualifying match for the Owen Hart Men's Cup tournament. So, oh my God, help us all. He is nervous that the finals could be both of his clients. He wants to expand his portfolio. Who is stupid to sell their soul for that creep? Both of you be very surprised on who would sell it. You would be very surprised. Oh, and we get to hear from our TNT champion, Adam Cole. Yeah, I mean, color, how was the Ring of Honor? Well, it was interesting watching it live. It was very interesting watching it live. I guess because when I was at a crowd and the match was entertaining, I just didn't think it was going to be that long. I did not think it was going to be that long. But going back to what Adam Cole said, I would like to see Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly get a shot at the AEW tag team titles. I mean, they did put in a former AEW tag team champion, FTR. I don't see why not. They could get a shot at that opportunity. I would love that. I would not mind to see it. I'm very happy for Adam Cole. I'm very curious on who's going to be his first opponent for the TNT Championship, because I'm hoping he does have a really good, solid reign. Also give kudos to Daniel Garcia. I just wish they did better booking wise. But here we go with one of my other favorite people, Chris Jericho and the Learning Tree with TV time. Well, you are a living legend, sir. Well, here comes the rest of the Learning Tree coming out. This is going to be interesting with the Learning Tree because we have seen it be in a little bit of shambles. But let's see what happens. Big Will's going to say something. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Hmm. I knew he was going to bring out that from Ring of Honor because only Brian Keith came out. Whoa! He brought out Floyd! He hit the TV! Reminds me of The Shining. You know the movie The Shining? That's what he reminds me of. Or like the Joker. Well, he's very unhinged after losing the belt. He's very unhinged. Well, he just had a grin on his face. He's staring right at the camera too. Oh my goodness. Well, we go from Chris Jericho to two of my clients, Max Caster, of course, facing off against Anthony Bowens. This is far from over. This is way far from over between these two. So we shall see. And Anthony will be back this Saturday on Collision, taking on Blake Christian. We're also going to hear from FTR on Collision this weekend. As I mentioned, for the Owen Hart Cup men's tournament, Brody King taking on Konosuke Takeshita. And even on the women's side, Jamie Hager taking on Billy Starks. Harley Cameron taking on the Ring of Honor Women's Champion Athena. So we got a pretty stacked card coming to you from Springfield, Massachusetts. Okay, Big Bill saw through the BS and that pissed Jericho. Fans are begging Jericho to leave. I don't think he will leave. I don't think he will leave. I can see him probably doing like backstage work or being a manager. It doesn't always have to be in the ring, but I can see him being a manager. And we are hearing from the Hurt Syndicate. It's funny they're being interviewed by MJF's girlfriend, Alicia.
Who's knocking at the door? I can't believe he said that to his own girlfriend in real life. I know he doesn't say it to her in real life, but oh my god.
Well, MVP sharing a little bit of word wisdom with MJF. Oh my god. Well, we're almost at the end of AEW Dynamite, and we have one more thing to watch, and that is the main event. Wheeler Yuta and Claudia Castagnoli taking on Samoa Joe and Hook. So that is the main event. Also, after this, do not go anywhere because we're going to do a quick post show after this. So feel free to go to the bathroom, get a beverage, get everything that you need because we're going to be doing a little bit of a post show after Dynamite. And it has been great spending time with all of you on this fallout from AEW Dynasty. We had some really good solid action throughout the night and a lot of storylines progressing in the coming weeks. As I mentioned, we did have some injured people on the roster. Mark Davis, he's out with a serious injury. My client, freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy, possibly torn his pectoral muscle. So I don't know how long he's going to be out for. Jay White, he broke his hand. So the injury bug is spreading a little bit. And then, of course, Darby Allin, right now, he is climbing Mount Everest. So lots has happened, but definitely a solid showing. And I'm just so excited. I get to see a lot more of my clients on TV. I got to see Tony Storm, my client Tony Storm. And then tomorrow, I'm getting ready to see Max Caster in concert tomorrow. My other client, Anthony Bowens, this weekend. He's competing this Saturday on Collision. But like I said, this is far from over between Caster and Bowens because the more Bowens succeeds and gets on the rise, that is going to piss off Caster. And they are going to meet again. I believe they are, but we shall see. We shall see. But definitely want to shout out to our sponsor, All Caribbean Wrestling. Since, Dynamite's on commercial, we should be on commercial too. So showing love to our sponsors, All Caribbean Wrestling.
This episode of Women's Wrestling Talk has been brought to you by All Caribbean Wrestling. Catch the wave. Go to allcaribbeanwrestling.com to check out all the latest pay-per-views or go on the YouTube page at All Caribbean Wrestling. Also, go and check out their socials on Instagram at All Caribbean Wrestling and on X at All Caribbean WR1.
Definitely want to send love to everybody at All Caribbean Wrestling being one of our sponsors for Women's Wrestling Talk. So thank you for all of you. Hello, James, the Italian Stallion Ladies Man. Oh, nice. Denda Rosa, Mercedes Monet, and Megan Bain are your favorites. And you like singing. And oh, here comes my guy, Chris Jericho. And he's like he's like the Joker. I guess he's still upset with Bandino. Well, guys, it has been fun. But right now, it is time for our main event. Yeah, Fernando, things are heating up with the Hurt Syndicate. They are with MJF, but we shall see what happens. Because thank you, Courtney, for confirming you will do coverage for spring break. No, that's okay, Boza. I really appreciate you asking. But yes, yes, because with everything happening with WrestleMania week next week, I'm still gonna be doing a watch on for AEW Dynamite. To be fair. Well, Fernando, to be fair, I would be okay if Jericho did step aside from the ring for a while. I would be okay with him doing like backstage work, producer, like a manager type that's not a wrestler, something like that. And I think this will be good for him to take a much needed break, really revamp, and also really focus on the continuing the vision and the brand for AEW. That should be something he should do. Fernando, just to let you know, the AEW Trios title is not defended on the line because earlier tonight, Swerve Strickland took on Pac, and Pac looked like he was very seriously injured. It looked like he was very seriously injured, but we'll keep up to date. And tonight's main event, it's going to be Samoa Joe and Hook taking on Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta. So no AEW Trios titles on the line tonight. Nothing on the line tonight. And yes, it is. Women's wrestling is the best, and that's why we're WWT Live, because we advocate for all the ladies. And I did see the comment, James the Italian Sally, man. You love seeing Max Caster get his butt kicked. Well, to be honest, I know he has his open challenge, but I think this is where it gets to a point where he has to stop his open challenges sooner or later, because since Anthony's back and when he has success, it really is going to infuriate him because, as I mentioned earlier, I watched the post interviews of both of them after their match, and there is going to be a lot of storylines, and this is slowly going to simmer a little bit because I do see them having a longer match again, either at Double or Nothing or All In. Like, it has to. I mean, I know people think like, oh, it's a one-off and everything else, but there's a lot more to this. There's a lot more to this. So calm down, and say what you want, but hey. Fernanda, I really do appreciate that. But yes, I will be doing a watch along next week on AEW Dynamite. And we are on the main event. Tag team action, and see, that little runt Wheeler Yuta just went in. That little run. I actually have not forgiven him because, number one, he screwed my client Orange Cassidy at Full Gear for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship, but I'm still not going to forgive him for that. He screwed my client. Oh, that's nice. Yes, James, he's very, very nice because I actually met him a couple weeks ago. I actually met him last month at New Jersey. And my brother actually surprised me because he knows Chris Jericho is one of my favorite wrestlers. And I actually did get a photo with him, and he was very nice, super sweet, very, very humble. So he's one of my favorite wrestlers. And I do have a figure of his. I don't know where exactly it is in my room, but I do have an action figure of his from the Attitude Era. But Chris Jericho has always been one of my favorites. And even though there are times it could get messy, I will always defend Chris Jericho. Same thing on the AEW side. I will always defend my clients, Tony Storm, Orange Cassidy, Max Caster, Anthony Bowens, and also Jamie Hager too, because those are my people that I ride and die for. No matter how bad it is, I'm always with them all the way. And plus, it's nice to see Hook in the main event because it's just so ironic. Hook is in the main event and his daddy's doing commentary. I know his daddy's very proud of him. And if you did not know who Hook's daddy is, it's Taz. If you did not know. Hello, Super Crunk Skunk. Thank you for joining on this watch along tonight for WWT Live. As you know, this is the watch along with me, your PR princess, your timeless elite on everything else that you need to know. Miss Courtney is with you in the building tonight, continuing the fallout from AEW Dynasty in Baltimore, Maryland. Do not go anywhere because after this, I'm just going to do a quick post show running through everything that's happened on tonight's show and just continuing the fallout. And after Dynasty, well, we are on the road to All In Texas, but we have one more stop first before we get to Texas, and that is Double or Nothing in Arizona. So even though it is picture in picture, the match is still going on live, and we are at our main event. Samoa Joe and Hook of the Ops taking on 2/3 of the Trios champion, Claudio Castagnoli, and that little runt, Wheeler Yuta. So, but definitely a solid match on the main event. I know MVP from an old Florida wrestling promotion when I lived in Florida. Oh, that's really nice that you get to meet MVP. Yeah, I've heard many good things about MVP. He's very approachable. He's very knowledgeable about the game, the wrestling game as well. So he's very, very nice from what I've heard in person. And I'm very happy that he is very humble. It always makes me happy to hear a lot of wrestlers who are very nice in person. And, you know, they care about their fans. That's why I always have a special place on a few of my clients, because Toni Storm's the reason I got into AEW. She's the reason I got into AEW. Of course, I was not a huge fan of the Acclaim, but learning about both Max Caster and Anthony Bowens on their backgrounds and where they came from, it was pretty cool. Also, Anthony Bowens is from my home state of New Jersey, so I always got to root for him. Same thing with Orange Cassidy. He's also from my home state, so yeah. And then plus, I got to meet both Bowens and Caster separately, and they are very, very nice in person. They are super nice in person. I'm actually going to Caster's concert tomorrow in Philadelphia, and I never got to go to a concert of his, but I'm very, very excited. And he legit does freestyles. It's not like how it was in the Acclaim, but it's pretty legit. Does it? He does the freestyling, and that's really impressive to me. So I'm very excited to see that. Also, I just love Jimmy Hager. She is somebody that is starting to grow on me, and I kind of want her butt back in the AEW women's title picture. So I'm very happy to see that. But it just makes me happy to see. But continuing our main event. Okay, so we're back in the main event between Hook and Samoa Joe taking on Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta. Oh my goodness, so bizarre. Nice, James, the Italian Stallion. That's nice. That's nice. Your cousin got to take a picture with Jimmy Hart. That's pretty awesome. But thank you for everybody to joining me on the watch along. But as I said, we're gonna do a quick post show. We do a picture post show to run through everything that happened on Dynamite tonight. And even though they're on the road to All in Texas, we still have, like I said, one more stop to do, and that is Double or Nothing in Arizona next month. So they're continuing the road to All In. A tag is made to Wheeler Yuta, trying to take out Samoa Joe. Uppercut by Claudio. Kick out by Hook. Samoa Joe getting out the ring. You know, I know Samoa Joe and the Ops are trying to go for the trios belt, but I wouldn't mind seeing Samoa Joe getting back in the AEW World Title picture against Jon Moxley. I wouldn't mind it. But I think Hook looked like he's going for that submission move. You got to be kidding me. Jon Moxley. He better hope Swerve ain't a dead man. I know Swerve, he's focusing on the Young Bucks because it's buck hunting season, but he still wants a piece. This is where I miss my boy, Orange Cassidy. This is where I miss him. He has his torn pectoral muscle. Oh, there is Shibata. Oh, yeah, because remember, Shibata faced off against Jon Moxley earlier, so he wants revenge for that. Hook, he got it in. Is Wheeler? That's over. It's over. It is over. Hook won by submission, and your winners are Hook and Samoa Joe, which means they're in line for a future opportunity for those trios belts because they pinned 1/3 of the champions. I wouldn't mind seeing them being trios champions. Shibata! Shibata still ain't gonna let go! He don't let it go, Shibata! And then, of course, Marina Shafir comes out because, as you remember, Willow is out with a neck injury. She's out from the DDT she got from Moxley. So don't worry, friends, because she will get a match with Marina soon. She will. And it looks like they're really going to damage Hook. I would be shocked if they go for the hand. Oof. On Hook. Here comes Samoa Joe. See, Marina, you should have never poked Samoa Joe. Now Joe is going to kill you. And you're lucky it wasn't Powerhouse Hobbs. See, nobody likes an angry Samoa Joe. Let's hear what Samoa Joe has to say. Well, Samoa Joe threw out the gauntlet. He wants the Death Riders to challenge for those trios championship belt. I know it's going to be on Dynamite, but I wouldn't mind seeing it at Double or Nothing. But not sure because we're still going to get anarchy in the arena at Double or Nothing, and I'm pretty sure it's going to involve the Death Riders and the Young Bucks at some point. It's just figuring out who's going to be the complete team to take down the Death Riders. That's pretty much, but this pretty much wraps up Dynamite. AEW Dynamite. It's a very solid show, and I'm just gonna hop right into the post show because might as well do that because, well, why not? So we kicked off the show with the Young Bucks. Well, Jon Moxley kicked up the show and dressing the Young Bucks. And also, yay, the Young Bucks came back to make their intentions very clear because trying to say, consider it a peace offering. And it's funny, I mentioned this like a couple months ago. I would not be shocked if the Death Riders and the Young Bucks were working behind the scenes together. So it was very hot on that. We kicked off with Jon Moxley versus Katsuyori Shibata. Fortunately, Jon Moxley ended up getting the win. So the Young Bucks make their way down the ring, trying to say that. And I'm not even going to get into that because obviously nobody cares about the Young Bucks. So I mean, I'm not going to say I don't care, but the Young Bucks making a purpose, saying they want AEW, blah, blah, blah. But Kenny Omega comes out, the reigning international champion. Kenny did not forget what the Elite did to him last year while he was recovering from a serious, gruesome injury. But Kenny wanted to fight, but unfortunately it was 3-on-1 because not only Young Bucks came out, Okada came out, but thankfully Swerve Strickland came out and said it was buck hunting season, as it should be. And then we also have another match with Texas Frustration. So the first match we kick off. I know, Boza, I try to be nice and fair because I like to be supportive of all wrestling, but it's just, I don't know why, but the Young Bucks, as I mentioned, they remind me of like people who are pricks and entitled and think they're better than everybody else just because they own $1 million company and really don't see the bigger picture and only in business for themselves. And also envious of other people that are just naturally popular than they are. That's what they remind me of. It's not the wrestling side that bothers me because they're great wrestlers. They're a great tag team. It's just the other things. Just want to be clear on that. But anyways, Swerve Strickland went 1-on-1 with Pac. I really thought Pac was seriously hurt. But hopefully it's not too serious. But the winner of the match was Swerve Strickland, and he says it's buck hunting season. And then we had the $400,000 8-man tag team match, which was crazy. Speedball Mike Bailey, Will Ospreay, Mark Briscoe, and Kevin Knight taking on Ricochet, Leo Rush, Action Andretti, and the Beast Muertos in a wild tag team match and just fun to watch. We also get to see the Hurt Syndicate celebrate their reign as AEW Tag Team Champions, but it was interrupted by MJF. And apparently Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin doesn't want him to be a part of the Hurt Syndicate, but there's a lot more to come. And MVP said it's all about business, but we shall see how that storyline picked up, but we shall see. We also had another match from the women's Owen Hart Cup tournament between, for the first time ever, Chris Statlander versus Thunder Rosa. And the winner of the match was Chris Statlander with my client, the reigning AEW Women's Champion, Timeless Toni Storm, was there. We'll also get to hear from that creep Don Callis, where he talked about the Don Callis family is looking for new members in the wake of injuries that happen. As I mentioned, Mark Davis is injured along with many others. So I don't know who's going to join the Don Callis family, but good luck with that. We also get to hear TV time from the Learning Tree, and it looks like Chris Jericho is unhinged, and it's good for him to have a break because I wouldn't mind seeing Chris Jericho do some backstage work, but do it. Fernando, dear God, no. Please keep him far away from the Don Callis family. Please. No. I swear to God, no. I don't even know what I would think if you paired off with that creep, Don Callis. I don't know what I would do. Actually, to be fair, I actually thought Thunder Rosa was going to win, considering the fact she's a former AEW Women's Champion. I really thought she was going to win, to be honest, because did anybody really think Chris Statlander was going to win? And plus, for that, this is the first time these two ladies ever fought against each other. So it would have gone hand in hand. And also with the fact Thunder Rosa has history with Toni Storm. To be fair, I have been watching AEW the last couple weeks, and yes, Thunder Rosa has had not many matches. She hasn't won much matches. I mean, she's won a few matches, but to be fair, but she's still a former AEW Women's Champion, a title that she's never lost. And yes, she is hurting a flump on the road, but a lot of people do suffer a lot of losses. It just needs to come back. And we'll figure out who her opponent is for Double or Nothing, because I have a feeling Thunder Rosa may turn heel. And I think that would help her redevelop her character a bit, because I actually like seeing her being a heel. And it would be kind of cool to see who would be Tony's next opponent at Double or Nothing. So, of course, Megan Bayne is making her statement with Megan Bayne talked about it, and she will be at Collision this weekend. Not sure what she's going to do, but I know she's going to wreak havoc on the women's division. Yes. She was embarrassed by Luther, but we've seen. Yeah, exactly. Like, Thunder Rosa should definitely go a heel turn. I wouldn't mind seeing her be a heel turn, but I think that would be great to see her get a heel turn. But we shall see on that, because we still don't know who Tony's going to face at Double or Nothing. So I wouldn't mind seeing a heel turn from her. But going back to this, the Learning Tree, I think it would be good for Chris to have a break, because he is unhinged a bit. But I wouldn't mind seeing him be like a manager or like helping out backstage, or even go back to doing commentary. I would be okay with. But we shall see what's next for Chris Jericho. But I think you should keep him far, far away from any title belt opportunity. He doesn't need the belts. He's already one of the most decorated wrestlers and influential wrestlers. He doesn't need any more belts. Let the man just go. And then, of course, we had our main event. We had 2/3 of the Death Riders, Wheeler Yuta and Claudio Castagnoli, taking on Samoa Joe and Hook. And it was a very solid tag team match between those two. always love seeing Samoa Joe back in the main event scene and seeing Hook in the main event scene in a rare instance. And it was awesome because his dad was on commentary. So got to see them. And the winner of the match was Samoa Joe and Hook. But of course, they did get a beating from the Death Riders. But you don't want to piss off Samoa Joe. Don't want to piss him off and see. But Samoa Joe threw out a challenge. The Death Riders against the Ops for the AEW Trios Championship. I am sold on that because you need to get those belts off them. Because honestly, what have they done to help the Trios division work well? But I would love to see that match happen. Maybe if it's on a Dynamite, but maybe it could be for Double or Nothing. Gotta have some matches at Double or Nothing, but it's a possibility we may have an anarchy in the arena. Possibly involving the Death Riders against them. I don't know. We shall see. But we shall see on that. Definitely the Ops on that. The Ops are winning. Well, we shall see, Fernando, because if you have to remember, Swerve said he is buck hunting. I mean, yes, he still wants his AEW World Title match, but he is buck hunting for the Young Bucks after what they did to him this past weekend on Dynasty. So there's a lot of layers happening to it. But I'm very excited to see what's in store. But that actually wraps up our post show and our watch along tonight for AEW Dynamite. And I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10 because there were some hits that was great, some misses happening, but I give it a solid 8 out of 10. It was definitely a good show after the fallout from Dynasty, but it's also going to continue on this Saturday on Collision, where we continue on the qualifier matches for the Owen Hart Men and Women's Cup tournament. You're also going to see one of my other clients, the 5-soul player, and from my home state of New Jersey, Anthony Bowens, taking on Blake Christian this weekend. We're also going to hear from FTR after the heinous attack they did on Adam Copeland. So lots of action happening this weekend. But this is your WWT Princess, your timeless elite, signing off. And it has been wonderful sharing it with all of you. Definitely want to give a shout out to Bobby Patino, Fernando, Boza. Thank you so much for joining on this watch along for Dynamite. Tiana Johnson, Eric Tate. I did say Fernando. Just making sure I don't miss anybody. Aaron Teagle, Eddie Foster, Dime Drawler the fourth. Interesting names. James the Italian Stallion Ladies Man. Thank you for joining. Super Crunk Skunk. So thank you all for joining on this watch along for AEW Dynamite this week. There is going to be a watch along next week, especially with the fact that it is WrestleMania week next week. It's WrestleMania week. So thank you for joining on this watch along. This is your timeless elite, your PR princess of everything. And you can always catch me here on WWT Live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I will not be on this Friday, but I will be back next Monday to spend time with all of you. Of course, every Wednesday, I handle my watch along for AEW Dynamite. Also, make sure to follow me on @CourtneyNJ11 in Twitter and Instagram, where if you didn't see it, you could check out my post that I was at the media scrum at Dynasty this past weekend, where I got to ask a question to my client, Tony Storm. And it was a very, very fun question, and very happy to do that. And looking forward to future opportunities at media scrums for AEW. So I'm ready to sign off. It has definitely been a nice all of you. And thank you for joining on this wonderful watch along and supporting Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet. Have a good evening and be safe.
Thanks for joining WWT. Don't forget to like us on all social media platforms at WWTalkpod. Like and subscribe on all video and audio platforms, like yesterday, my G. And check out our website at www talkpod.com. Thanks for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.